right, welcome back to another case study. And today I am beyond blessed and excited for y'all to hear from someone who I met probably, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm just going to let you, Cody, kind of give a quick introduction, maybe 60 seconds on like who you are, when you got into real estate, and then we'll kind of dig into the good, bad, ugly of your journey.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. And I've been in real estate for 21 years, so a super long time. And right now, fast forward to where we are, we exceeded the $1 million GCI spot finally this year. It will probably end up at about 1.2. And in that journey, I found you only 5 years ago. And before that, I was just a realtor, um, kind of a cocky realtor. I was really good, a really good real estate agent. But what I was not was a business owner. I had no bloody clue. If I had money in the bank, I was happy. So this is completely, Lars. You have changed my life, and just where we are today, and how I deal with money and overall happiness. So I'm happy to be here, because if there's anything I want to get out there is how much gratitude I have for B School. And I don't want everybody to think that sounds cheesy. I just am happy to be here, and that journey is through our work with you. I don't want to underscore that, because we've worked really hard.
Yeah, and so in what really excites me about getting your message out, and it's something that is a little different than my journey. I honestly never liked being a real estate agent, so I actually assume that nobody likes it, and it's the wrong assumption, and it's taken me years to learn that. I just assume everyone hates working with buyers and sellers. And here's a really great example of someone that has been in the business for 21 years. They love the business, and I want to help everyone understand, like, what was it like when we first met. But real estate agents get to the point where if you're a top producing agent, you fall out of love with the business, and your life becomes a living hell.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to use
yeah.
those words for you, but I'm going to let you explain,
Nope,
like, when
that
you
is true.
first met, what did you want to achieve? What was the business like? Maybe we talk a lot about time, money, and stress. Sometimes the money's good, but you're working 80 hours a week, or you're super stressed. Like, talk
Sure.
about what you want to achieve. What was life like when we met? Maybe touch on time, money, and stress a little bit.
When I found you, the very first time I found you online, it was after I had met you in person, because we had met in a different scenario. But when I found you online with B School, and I was in an open house. Freaking hate open houses. So I hate open houses. That's just straight up. Then I had just had a buyer that was just a nightmare. So I didn't care for that at all. I was in pain like you wouldn't believe. Money, like I said, I've never been good at money. If I had it, I spent it. And I was never afraid. There was not a moment that I had fear that I could not make more money, until 2009. That 2009-10 thing happened, and that rocked everything. So there was all this combination of so much crap, if you will, that um, I needed like a lifeline, or just forget the whole thing, because I couldn't stand it. I actually felt like I couldn't breathe at times. So then I said, okay, this is what I'm doing. And then I got you on the phone, and I said, okay, you did this in 6 years. Can I do it in 3? Because that's what you were saying. You're saying you can do this in 3. So I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes to do this in 3 years. And so that was the very beginning of the journey. And my commitment was 110%. There was no waffling. I did everything, everything. And I'm proud of that time, because it was hard, but it was so awesome. And I'm so glad I did it. But that's kind of how it started.
So what specific problems were you facing back then? Like, think about that time where you had the buyer, the open house, like
Sure.
I want to give this whole thing up. It's kind of not worth it.
Yeah.
What kind of
It
specific problems were you facing?
I think the biggest thing is I was used to having like it just be on me like that. I didn't didn't even consider anything different. Um, and that kind of came from an I'm an amazing person attitude. And I say it because I really mean it. It was a really arrogant kind of place to be in. And then I said, okay, if I can rely on others, right, and start finding support or something, that was a big deal. And my husband had already come on with me, but I, just like you teach, I'm this visionary who have all these amazing ideas and would plop all these ideas on his lap to say, okay, implement. I come back 24 hours and I'm like, okay, are we ready with that? And he just looks at me like I have three heads. Like, you've got to be joking. Like, you can't do this. And you can't, put it on all on me either. So we had no clue how to work together. There was so much pain there, but we love and respect each other so much that it wasn't like a battle. It was just oh my gosh, what are we doing? And I put all the stuff I didn't want to do on him. Well, he doesn't really want to do that stuff either. So it just, not stop relying on just myself and start looking outside of what you don't know what you don't know. That was the thing. I was now about, just your message was telling me stuff I didn't already know. And it opened that space to say, okay, there's a different way to do this. And I see agents still doing what I was doing then, and they don't even think outside the box. I don't even know. It's not even outside the box now. It is my box, and I am just so grateful to be here. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So when you talk about, not being able to breathe, so you're a top agent at this point.
My phone's ringing off the hook.
Yeah. Enough business, 16, 17 years in the business. You're super
Yep.
confident about yourself. You can go make money at will. And at the same time, you can't breathe.
And
Like,
I can't stand the people anymore. Like, the part I love about the business today are I love people. I love hanging out with people. I love asking questions. I love learning about people. And I enjoy it. Well, I wasn't enjoying that even. I couldn't stand the people. I felt my energy was so down here that I think I was just attracting everybody that just didn't like me either. I don't know. It just was a constant battle. And now, like, it's just joyful. And it's also comes down to when your phone's ringing off a hook and you want to be at your son's basketball game enjoying it, and you can't do anything besides answer that phone because you have this tug to make sure your business keeps going. I don't know. That almost contradicts the fact that I know I can make money though, because I knew the money would always be there, but it doesn't change. You can't do it all. And I'm a mom. I'm a mom of two. They're 18 and 17 now. And so when this came in my life, it was a space where, holy cow, I need to be there. I want to be there. And so that was a painful thing to figure out that. And I mean, I don't think I've missed a basketball game. If I did, it's been one of a gazillion. So they got over it fast.
yeah.
So that was a big piece, is to get back with my family, find that family time, figure out Bill and I, what are our roles? That was one of the first things you gave us, by the way, is our roles together. Just defining our roles changed everything for us. So that was a very big piece. And then, like I said, getting my phone to stop ringing and moving into like that dialogue tech, that I would have to say that's my big thing, is dialogue tech, is just to get that phone off of me ringing elsewhere and being answered by Bill. And that was it. And then hiring an assistant. So I don't know that you've really gotten to those three things, but hiring assistant, which wasn't easy. We
Yeah, I'm
can
going to
talk
get there in
about
a
that.
second. I want to
Yeah.
one more thing because I don't know the answer to this.
Okay.
Um, Hours worked when we first met. Like, what was the average number of hours, days per week, and what was your GCI back then versus hours, stress level, and GCI now?
My largest GCI came probably when everybody else's did at that moment, was 2005, when everybody was selling anything. And we made $300,000 that year. And I remember it so well because I mean, I just thought I'm amazing. Like, it was just, I just thought that was the crescendo, and we're rocking. And then, right then we got hit with making nothing. When I go from selling, I don't know, 25 to 30 homes to, I sold 7 in 2009 and 10 in 2010. So those were just horrifying experiences, because my arrogance or confidence, whichever you want to call it, just didn't work. It wasn't there. So then I fast forward, then we were back up there again around 200, 250. And I mean, we're just thinking that's great money. And yeah, it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. And I don't know if this is one of your three, but I'll comment on it because to me it was, and you mentioned it, you hinted on like that, nobody really teaches us how to do money, like you're really good at a thing and like your confidence is high. I can go out and make money. And then like, it's not what you make. Like if you're not keeping it and you're not managing it, so we had some really sort of heart to heart conversations about, awkward for me in one sense, where I'm
I
like,
bet it was.
I don't know, do we need that? Do we need that? Like that payment, so it's just interesting that, I look back on those times because I honestly don't get to do as much of that today, where I'm really in it with
Sure.
you guys. And we talk back and forth, you and I just, because of those intimate moments that we had, Bill and you and me, and talking about stuff that people don't freaking talk about.
That's right.
I was
And
able,
I cannot let that go without people knowing a little bit about that. We owned a cabin that my husband built with his family, his husband and his brother and his husband, his father and his brother. And his father had since passed away. Um, and we're doing our outline of assets and our debt. And Lars looks at it and he's like, What's this cabin?" I mean, it's a horrible payment that we were spending maybe 2 3 weeks out a year. Lars like, "That's ridiculous, you got to let that go." I'm like, I looked at Bill and I about died that you just said that. And Bill couldn't even believe it. It wasn't even a thought. And I will tell you, within about 2 months, it was sold, and it was the best thing. It was the right thing, and it was the best thing. And we are in a hugely different place, partly because of that, obviously, because we don't have that debt. But now, just everything's different.
yeah. And you don't often nobody really takes a lot of time in their everyday life just to take a step back and kind of look at their business, look at their financial picture, look at their marriage, look at their roles in the business. Being in a business with your spouse is hard. Like, and if you don't have that like clear line of like what the rules of engagement are, what I'm willing to do, what you're willing to do, it can make it a little wonky.
And I
Um,
can tell you, without Bill, I wouldn't I wouldn't be here at all.
yeah.
And Bill and I say, without this, defining that, just what you said, because I mean our hearts were clear at the minute you said it. It made so much sense, and it put a level of, I'm this. Now I can sit in this space and not stay in my lane. That was on my vision board last year, by the way, staying in my lane and him staying in his lane, and it just flourished from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
let's dig into. I want to give a flavor of the tool systems, strategies, mindsets. Three things that you feel had the biggest impact on your journey. Going from where you were to where you are today. Let's just list the three things, and then I'll ask questions about the three of them.
Okay. So dialogue tech genuinely changed a lot for us. The thing I can't totally, and maybe you can help put it into place, because dialogue tech has all the phone numbers, right? So I had to have had the signs, the 3 signs in the yard, and that was a really fast and easy thing that we did. But then in order to have those 3 different signs with the 3 different numbers, we had to have dialogue tech. But the
Yeah.
minute we had dialogue tech, every everywhere my cell phone was taken off.
Yeah. So
My
let's call that one.
I,
It's like call tracking, call routing, getting
okay,
disconnecting your personal self from your business. Like it is the biggest step.
huge.
99.9% of real estate agents, what other number would you put on the sign? Like, it's like, wait, you
Right,
really
they
want to
don't
get a
think.
call Sunday night at 6 p.m.? It's like, no. So,
No,
okay. So let's
they
tee that
don't.
one up as call routing, call tracking, freeing yourself from your cell phone. What's number two?
Okay, now this one it was hiring an assistant. And it may sound crazy because it was Bill and I, but it was an essential piece. And I don't want that to come across like, oh yeah, I just hired an assistant. It was very hard. That took me a year and a half to find the right person, and I went through 6 to find the 7th, the lucky number 7.
Man, it's like,
So
what's the story in the Bible?
it was painful.
Yeah, where they had to on the seventh time around the. I don't remember what the story is, but I know seven is a
Perfect.
number of completion in the Bible. All
Well,
right, so hiring an assistant, getting leverage through the right person, and empowering that person with the low dollar productive task. We'll dig into that. What's number three?
you know, can you say mindset? I mean, mindset was I was a mental, I mean, I was mentally just I don't even know. I wouldn't say exhausted, but just I don't know, mentally out of the game. And that biggest shift was the mindset to commit to something that was a little scary. And I'll say this: it wasn't scary for me because it was a lifeline for me. But for Bill, it was like, holy crumb, the money going out was scary to him. Then I'm saying we're putting more money out with an assistant. That was really scary to him. So he and I had this yin and yang thing. So we had to get a mindset around growth and that ability
Yeah,
to walk in. I mean, it's just scary.
I
And it
love
like
that one. I'll definitely dig deeper on that. So it's almost like, the solo agent, top producer mindset to like, how would a business owner look at investing in an assistant, investing in a lead gen source or platform or
because you almost have to take a step back. Like you have to come back and not sell so many deals for a minute. Take a
yeah,
little, and it's like,
good
ugh.
point. So there's different ways to measure growth.
Yeah.
In
Oh
real estate,
yes.
everyone wants to measure it
Perfect.
by GCI or units and like the strength in
That's
your
the
marriage, how much net worth do you have? How much time do you have away from the office? How less stressed do you feel? So, all right, so let's dig into number one. So number one, I'm going to call like getting your cell phone off of everything.
yeah.
It seems like a simple thing, and there's a couple specific tools that come into play. One is our, yard marketing strategy, where there's three signs in the yard, three different psychologies that a buyer can sort of engage with in the front yard of a property. Triples your inbound calls, at least doubles, and then bringing in a call routing system like Dialogue Tech. So
Push.
talk a little bit about like what was it like before? Every sign, everywhere you advertised, everywhere had your cell phone.
Had my cell phone on it.
So it
So
was
then you
7 days a
think,
week. Your phone would ring, and if you
for
answered
sure.
it, great. If you didn't answer it, they may or may not leave a message.
Correct. And I like if I'm watching this video right now, I'm thinking, okay, well that's fine, but there were still just two of you. How do you put another number on there? It doesn't matter. It would still have to call me. It didn't though. We would have it like that's where Bill and I we had our roles and he was the operations. He took care of that and he sat by and he took the phone calls and I didn't. And we're still together, but then we put boundaries on our hours, right? Like we're okay. If that rings after 6 p.m., it doesn't matter, and that's hard to do. That's really hard to do when you're used to, taking it at all hours.
Yeah.
So that piece and that was a monster change for me.
Yeah, and it goes to the mindset too. I don't want to dive into the mindset necessarily, but it really is a big leap from, if you think about traditional success in our industry, you had already achieved it, and it wasn't worth having. Like say we're
Correct.
like 300,000 GCI or making $300,000, but you're answering your cell phone. If you run an ad somewhere, it's your cell phone. If it's a yard sign, it's a cell phone. Going to three signs with your cell phone, like who would want more calls to your cell phone? So
That was
you
right.
almost like you don't want to get more calls at a certain point. And you as the thinking as the business owner and the visionary, if you're getting pulled into the weeds all the time through like answering calls at all hours, you don't even have any margin in your day to think like a business owner. Can you comment
That's
on that?
exactly right. You got it. And even like business owner, like I don't know, I thought I was killing it. And it just put it into such perspective. But no, I was a realtor. And I even, got my broker's license. So I was a real estate broker. And none of that changes the fact that I was not a business owner. I had no clue what that meant. I had no clue what our expenses were. You When you gave us an operations, he was operations, I was sales. The minute that happened, then he knew, okay, he actually has a say in the expenses. Like, Cody, these are the expenses and I've tracked them. we never did that before. And it gave him that power to say, holy cow, you need to rein it in on all that spend. And he was right. And so it's like I learned so much. So I don't know, that's mindset, yes, but I don't know, I don't want to get
Yeah.
off topic too
It's
far
almost
from
a
here.
number 4, and I can get into it. It's becoming the CFO of your business. Um, I'll touch on it in a second because I think it's valuable. All right. So number 2 you said was hiring an assistant, and it's crazy. I learned recently that 85% of real estate agents don't have any leverage through another person. So they're just solo, which doesn't say a whole lot because I know like 50% of them only sell one home. So it's
Good point.
it's sort of in some ways a pathetic industry that we're involved in. So talk about hiring an assistant and talk about 6 people that didn't fit. Was it all them? Was it you weren't ready? Was it your process? What lesson could you give somebody? Everyone that wants to elevate and make more money in less time, have less stress, must get an assistant. Like
No doubt.
it is no doubt, right? So
Yep.
talk about that journey and how did you stay committed to
Oh,
get to lucky number 7?
no doubt. I'd like to say it was all them, but clearly it was not all them. I'm just, and I imagine most of us that are here are those high D's, right? We're not exactly the easiest people to work for. You kept telling me that. You kept saying we are not the easiest people to work for. You said you are not the easiest person to be married to.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, holy cow. Hearing those things, it was like perspective, Cody, and just I mean, now it's just the love is so much there. Like I've just grown so much, but that time it was just I was difficult. But but I but I think it served me too. Like I don't want to say that it didn't. These people were not the right fit. They were never going to be who we have now. So it was a combination for sure, but the best thing I did in that process is we created what is called a business office guide. So as we added these systems, each assistant would learn a system and put it in the business office guide and the steps exactly how to do it, right? And then they'd be gone in 2 months. So whatever, maybe they got 2 systems in the business office guide, but they were perfect, right? So then I hired number 2. Well, she already knew how to do those systems. I didn't have to teach her because the business office guide taught her, and then she could create 1 or 2 or 3, however long she was here. She kept the business office guide uh, growing with every system we kept adding. So by 7, like it was actually easier to hire 7 because I had a whole business office guide to hand her and say, these are our systems and this is the way it works. I didn't know it at the time, but it was genius. It really worked well for us. And I would suggest that everybody immediately start getting that going with any assistant, because who knows, they may or may not last, but you will always have that to give to the next person. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I wish I could take credit for that, and that is all you.
I did that one.
That is amazing because if you think about it, so some would get discouraged. Some would hire somebody and say, it didn't work. Like that was hard. It was my first hire ever. And they
Yeah.
rejected me or I didn't fulfill and you were like, no, man, I got 2 systems in the business office guide. That God intended that person to help me build those 2 systems. And by
Darn
golly, we
right.
did it. So
A-
that
and
my
I did
friend
feel that though. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, that I did feel like it hurt and like I had that, but it was like I told you, committed. I was not stopping, Lars. I was not stopping. One assistant didn't want to be here, whatever. It had to be okay. And so each one got easier and easier because I just wanted to be great and I needed an equally great person. And we have her now. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but yes, I'm very excited about that
That
piece.
is awesome. So
Yes.
let's break down number 3, mindset, and let's include the knowing your numbers piece in that. You mentioned mentally exhausted and committing to the journey. It's funny, we do a different onboarding process with new members now where I talk about committing to the journey, like committing to the journey of, we only work with top producing agents as our entry point, which is only like 1.5% of the whole realtor population. So And I talk about, you need to mentally commit to this journey. So when I say that, and when you said it, what do you mean by it? Like, you were at the point where you were just ready to give it all to building, leverage and systems. Talk about that a little bit.
I think um, people make decisions out of pain, right? Like I was just in such pain. And it was either, and I think Dave Hook kind of has said this in the past too, it was either like changing this completely or getting out of it and figuring out something else because it was just stinky, for lack of a better word.
Mm.
And so that was the space. But we had bills and we had, I don't know. I never really felt that though. I guess if I made a change, I would just go make a change and it would be okay too. But the change was this, and I had invested what at that point 15 years of my life to this. I don't think I have anything that I've invested 15 years of my life into other than my children and my husband and this. And like I've never worked at a job for more than 2 years really. Like I just wanted to change always in high school and in college, and it's just this was like a big thing, and and to see it in a different way was pretty really cool. And I remember listening to your deal, um, just talking that message, and it was what I wanted, and it gave me that in a little bit different way. But yeah, it
Yeah,
gave me that.
that's awesome. So
Mhm.
let's,
It is awesome.
in the realm of mindset and making the shift from, solo top producing agent to business owner. You mentioned like the bringing, your expenses, and how
Oh yeah,
that was scary, for Bill, who's a business partner, and your husband.
yeah.
Talk about
Actually, it was
like,
scary to me too when it was written down,
yeah, so
right?
talk about how you weren't tracking much at all in your finances, and
Yeah.
how maybe the tracking gave you a little bit of confidence that you had the money to spend, and talk about that in a mindset perspective, if that makes sense.
It sure does. And it's actually really, really kind of cool for me because I have a trainer now at the gym, and he's building his business. And I said, he's sending out postcards just like mine. And he goes, I don't care what happens with these postcards. I just want to be like you where everybody knows me. And I'm like, okay, well, I care about my postcards and I care about how many calls I get from every postcard I send. And I know exactly how much I spent on every postcard. Do you know how many of these people that are in this gym came from those postcards? Like, I'm a full fledged coach. Like, I could teach him that because of what you taught me. And that was monumental. The minute I looked back and you said, look at your closings, whatever, I might have had 40. I think it was 42 closings or something, and you said go back and find out where they all came from. And it was like Bill and that was fun to us. Like, oh my gosh, that was a referral, that was a referral, that was a referral. Like, and you could look at it in a way, I can even feel it right now. I can see what is going on in my business the minute I knew where all those deals were coming from. And if anybody has a business and they are not tracking where their business comes from, then they are not a business owner. Just, just isn't.
Yeah.
It was huge.
What else on mindset? Someone that's listening to this that was at the point you were at, when you got started with real estate B school. What else? There's some fear, around growth, and 15, 16 years of doing the same thing and being successful outside of the dip that you had for the recession.
Recession.
What else mindset could you sort of speak into somebody that might be at the same point you were at?
Of doing it for so long and then not wanting to do it anymore? Is
Yeah,
that
or
what you
just the
mean?
fear that you might get around growth, or taking on some expenses to get leverage in people and systems, and some systemized marketing.
Okay, yeah, super good question because I kind of said earlier that spending money didn't worry me at all. And I think that came from I just knew that I could convert whatever happened. I was spending money on online leads before, like the minute it came out through Market Leader or something. So it just, I don't know, that wasn't there, but it very much was there with Bill, when even just coming on the expense of B school. And I'm like, the just a mindset around coaching and getting the knowledge that you need. I bought into that from super young, and he did not. And so it was a monumental for him to say, to take that leap of faith. And I think going at it together, maybe helped him. I don't know, but I do know that it's 100% necessary. Even you could read all the books in the world, I think, but you got to have some sort of way to learn what you don't know, because you don't know it, and you got to find a way to figure it out. And so I guess the way it did it for me is it had to be changed. So we went in and we went through. We had to step through the change. Um, and you had mentioned, and many people I think mentioned, you've got to go through that really uncomfortable space to grow. Well, I buy into that. You didn't have to teach me that. That was something I bought into. So if you don't buy into that, that's going to be even harder for you.
Yeah,
You
and you
have
mentioned,
to go through it.
yeah, you mentioned earlier, you said, you don't know what you don't know.
That's
It's
right.
like, and that's been true. I mean, I have been involved in personal development and coaching as a recipient of it, I
For
think probably more
always.
than anyone I know. And
Yes.
I always, like, I've got to know if I want to get there, there's just a gap in skills or knowledge.
And I need
Um,
somebody to teach me them.
yeah. So when we first got together, was there any objection or hesitation that you had, like where you're like, man, it sounds good, but I almost didn't join because, was there any hesitation?
Well, I almost didn't join because Bill. Sorry, honey. He, I just didn't because of his hesitation and his fear. Um, but I pushed through that piece, and the money piece was scary. But so scary to him. I think of that, and I almost am trying to think of the light bulb moment that he had, and I don't think there was a light bulb moment. I just think it was his faith in me that, and because mine was so strong. I'm like, I'm doing this, or like there's nothing else to do. Like this is the answer to my happiness. So then Bill goes, happy wife, happy life, do it. Whatever it takes. And then it was really hard, right? Because I think it was 3 months in, I was like, oh, this is painful. And the money wasn't that was so light, and I was struggling. I couldn't do a stupid basketball hoop for my kids for Christmas. And I was so mad. I called you and you're like, this is crazy. I don't want you stressing over a basketball hoop for your kids. Like this is, and we had a conversation around it. Your give to me was huge, and it it made all the difference in Bill's faith with you when you just talked to us.
Yeah.
You just said, "Listen, let's get through this together." And Bill did a 180, and he goes, "I am in with that guy." And the trust and the faith was 100% there, that when he and I struggle with a decision, we both go, okay, let's go to B school. They'll answer it. They'll be that third person for us to just answer the which one of us is right, or is there a combination that we can move forward with. But you got to step in with a little bit of faith, no question about it.
That's
Sorry, that
awesome.
was me.
So yeah, and I remember, having a lot of faith in you guys as well. So you
You
say that
did.
you had faith in like, there wasn't a real agenda around helping you guys. I just knew that you could do it. And so I wasn't
Right.
in those like times, like we need someone when it's hard, and like, yeah, it's hard. Like I knew it was going to be hard. Sorry, I didn't explain it ahead of time that it was going to be hard.
I think you
But
did. It,
and now it's
I
like, you guys can do it. Let's keep going forward. So let me ask you, what's been your favorite part of real estate B school?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Um, Boy, a bunch of things. I think uh, the ability on a whim to reach out when I need to. I am, my word for 2020 is routine. So, like, I'm not somebody that has been a great person at an exact, precise schedule every day. And so, when I needed your help, like, I needed it then. And I would do the Voxing, and I'd get on Vox, and it was either you or Andy, uh, Thomas, I think had done it once. I don't know, but it was always that ability to put it. And even when you do it and you say it out loud in the moment. You're like, oh wait, you could figure it out maybe on your own. But many times I couldn't, and I would just leave that, and I knew that it was there and it would get answered, and I'd have the answer to my question. And I needed, little silly things like, gosh, what do you say in this moment? And it was really great. Or I got to hire this person, and I think it was you that said, do you want me to talk to him? Like, I'll talk to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest. However, I was like, if I can't do this, then I don't deserve to be a business owner. So no, I'll talk to him. But thank you. Knowing you're there and would do that was huge. Every piece of this, you guys have been there for me. And I say you personally, but it's just the whole thing is there. Stacy has been there. I mean, every time you need something, she's there to help me. And it's really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, who would you recommend Real Estate B School to, and why?
Good question. So I have this gal who she's just in so much pain and can't find the right hire, and she is, I hired a what do you call it, virtual assistant. And I told him he just had to figure it out. I'm like, okay, well, you can't do that. Like, she's just so frustrated, and she really wants to build a business because she has that same faith in herself, and she is the perfect candidate. And she keeps going back to the Keller Williams model, and I'm in Keller Williams and I'm loving it, but she keeps going to those productivity coaches and the MAPS coaching in there, and I almost did it too. And I can see clearly. I told her, I'm like, the difference is night and day. You will become a business owner. And I'm having the conversation. She is the exact person. She, or it could be a he, whoever, but that person that just really wants to see uh, an ownership of something. Because remember, and I don't know if we're there yet, but I am gonna say this. I'm at a place where, like, I have two assistants and I have two sales agents and Bill and I. So there's six of us on this team. And I do all the stuff I love. I love to be in listing appointments. I love the thrill. I love getting that signature. I think it's cool as heck. So that is awesome. And those people who are in that space of doing all of it, they don't like it anymore. Well, there's a reason they joined real estate. There's a reason they got in and a reason they got to the level they are. There is something about it that they like. So elevate yourself to the space you're only doing the things you like. Then if at that moment you figure out, I don't like this anymore, then elevate yourself to the stepping out of your business. And we can
Yeah,
do that. We might do that, but right now I'm really enjoying where we're at.
that's really that's really powerful. And I wanted to say, so it's just a series of, it's the shift from agent to owner, but it happens in steps. It's not like all of a sudden you're like a solo agent doing 300,000 and then you're thrown into a $1.2 million business where you're managing people, and you're the CFO, and now you know how to track, and yet you're still selling. And it's like kids, right? Kids don't come out as teenagers. If they did, nobody would ever have kids. Like
So
the
true.
first 12 years prepares you for year
For
13.
that space. That's
So it's like,
exactly right.
it's just pushing in and leaning in and trusting the process just over and over and over again.
And to not compare yourself to everybody else. Um, I kind of have learned about myself and all this self-help and self-care stuff, that I lived in that I'm not good enough space, which really helped me drive through and get all these systems in and done, because I wanted to be just like Lars. I wanted to be just like you. That was my thing. And then finding out that maybe I didn't, and maybe it's okay, and I want to be this instead of that. I'm going to stay in this lane because this is actually joyful for me. Wasn't a fail. That was a choice, and monumental for me.
Yeah. And you can
Huge.
create, yeah, that's another really powerful point. And even though I'm 6.5 years into business coaching and real estate B school, I'm still learning that part of it. Like,
Yeah.
this is about where you want to end up, where you feel joy, I don't get to judge that you should be going on listing appointments. Like, if you are filled with joy and you love to kill still, the
Right.
good thing is, if there's a day that you don't want to, you'll have a couple solid agents like chomping at the bit to take over that production if you ever
And
get
that
there.
and that is exactly, now we're building that, but this time we did it before and it was a epic fail. And now we're doing it again, but it's just, now I'm in a space where I love the day and I can love them and I can love their not so good things too. And it
Yeah.
just is, and they'll get there and we'll get there, and it'll, I don't know, it just is, I'm so much more comfortable and it's not a race. And so it is
You
good.
mentioned one more thing I've learned as well, and this is just true in life. I think you actually said, put your blinders on. It's like the picture of, when a horse is running a race and
Yeah,
they
I've heard
literally
you say
have
that.
blinders on over their eyes. And so like, this is your race. You need to run your best race, and you don't need to be on Facebook looking at this top agent or like, man, he sells all
Oh
those
my
homes and
gosh.
his wife is good looking, or like his kids are always well dressed and well behaved. Like,
Oh my
we
gosh.
do all that stuff to ourselves. That I know guys running $5 million businesses that are not making half of their personal production and profit.
Bingo.
Yeah, businesses that aren't even freaking businesses, and
That is
nobody's
exactly
really
right.
revealing that. And slower growth, find your joy in each part of the growth process,
Yep.
and take a long-term view of the whole thing. Like, what are we all rushing for? Why are we all looking at each other when all I got to worry about is my faith, my husband, my kids, my community, and the impact I
Bingo.
have with my team members? That's the world. Who gives a
And
crap what
there's
anyone else thinks
so
about
much
us?
freedom. That's
Yeah.
the freedom in that is huge. And going back, I did interview like some other top people in our area when I was considering going into Keller Williams or EXP or something like that. I was in that space of, I want to find a home and not be a broker on my own. And I interviewed people and they're like, I don't, for whatever reason, they were very open. Like, yeah, I wrote 5-figure checks to my business this year. I'm like, you what?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you like you're a friggin' rock star. It's like, wow. The admission of that, I feel, was so honest and real and transparent, but eye opening for me, because you've told me that. You said they're not where you think they are. And that really was the that was a fact right then in that moment. And I mean, we went back, all the way back. We had you told us to do monthly, I think it was, check our worth, our what we are worth monetarily. And the difference between the second year was in B school. I think it was about a second year,
Mhm.
beginning of the second year to now. Like, it's, I mean, it's like awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I should say it. It's just so awesome. Like, we're buying properties with cash right now, and we're like, it's just insane. And
Yeah. And
why would I stop this? This is so fun.
yeah, and nobody really, and money is like one of like maybe 8 measures, and it's a
Oh my
fun,
gosh, yes.
in business, you're putting your time on the line to make money and make decisions
Absolutely.
around investing in people and marketing and processes, so you have money left over so you can have something to show for it. So keeping score of that, so few people do it, because I think people are keeping up with the Joneses. They don't want to really know what's actually going on financially. But that's a total soapbox that I don't want to
We
get
can
into.
get on. No, no, no. I agree.
This
But
has
it is
been,
wonderful. And my time, that was money, but my time, like, we're relaxed this year. We have done better this year than any other year, and I've spent less time really cranking things out this year than any other year.
yeah,
How do those two even, how does that even make sense without systems and processes? And the things that you've taught us is the only way that comes together that way.
yeah,
And I'm just proud of it, because I am grateful to B school, but I don't want to say that it takes the work that we put in to B school to make those two all come together. It's
for
been
sure.
wonderful.
And committing to the journey. Cody, this
That's right.
is, you have a special place in my heart. You and Bill do. And
Thank you.
just so much love and respect for you and what you've built. And you keep showing up when I challenge you and when the team challenges you, and you keep leaning in, and we don't let you off the hook, and you keep demanding
That's
value of
true.
us, and it's this just amazing thing that we built together. So if you're at the point in your business where this just speaks to you, you know, top producing agent that has achieved traditional success, maybe others think you've arrived, maybe even you think you've arrived, but it
No
sucks if you're
kidding.
being honest with yourself. Your time isn't your own. Probably don't have as much money to show for your efforts as you think you should, and you're super stressed all the time. I honestly don't know where else to send you than Real Estate B School. And of course, I'm the founder, so I'm like partially biased, but just go to realestatebschool.com. The only thing we can offer you is a conversation about your business. It's the same conversation Cody and I had 4 or 5 years ago. Like, what is life like now? What do you want it to look like? And what's getting in the way, right? You're 15, 16, back then, you're 15, 16 years in the business. We had that conversation. So if you go to realestatebschool.com, click on the orange button, and we'll get on a phone call and talk about your business and what you think is possible and how we might be able to help you get there. Cody, you're amazing. Bill's amazing. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Anything we can ever do for you, just let us know. Okay.
Thank you so much. You are amazing as well. We
All right. We'll talk
appreciate you.
soon. Bye-bye.